Today in the Fresh Brew Run Club, my 100-mile review of the New Balance Rebel V4. Welcome to the Fresh Brew Run Club. Today's episode, I am giving my review of the New Balance Rebel V4 after 100 miles. What I want to do is just give my initial reaction. I'm going to go over the pros, the cons, and then kind of my overall verdict of this shoe after running 100 miles over the course of the spring. All right, so to kick it off, I'm actually going to read the description from the New Balance website about what this shoe is. I think it's important to know how they're positioning this shoe versus my experience actually running in this shoe. So, according to the website, they say, Rebel by name, Rebel by nature. The fuel cell Rebel V4 will change the way you look at an everyday trainer. The propulsive feel of fuel cell technology creates a remarkably responsive underfoot that can quickly adapt from long, steady runs to something shorter and more spontaneous. Additional details like a streamlined mesh upper add race-inspired accents to a dynamic, upbeat trainer designed to bring an element of fun back into your run. So let's start with the pros of the shoe after 100 miles. First of all, I think it looks cool. New Balance is doing an interesting thing. Their fuel cell line of shoes all kind of look the same. So the SC Elite looks like the Rebel V4. It's kind of hard to tell the difference unless you've been looking at this shoe and, making reviews and posting videos and pictures about it for a long time. Basically, they look the same, and I think they look great. They look fast. They have cool colors. It's like kind of this blocky, like geometric shape to the foam. They look aggressive. The other thing I really like about this shoe, compared to many other shoes on the market, it is relatively affordable. Now, when I say that this shoe costs $140 and you record scratch, say $140, that's not cheap, but I mean, you look at some of these shoes. New Balance is actually releasing a daily trainer later this summer that is going to cost $200. So $140 for a shoe with a pretty good amount of technology. I mentioned that fuel cell foam, it's lightweight. I think it's a pretty good value, relatively speaking. The next pro, this is a super lightweight shoe. So it weighs 7.5 ounces, which that's light. So I run in a lot of max cushion trainers, which keep that in mind for later in this video. Max cushion trainers are pretty heavy. This was very different. It's light. It's very, very light. The foam is light. There's not much on the outsole. The upper is pretty lightweight, pretty minimal materials. Now, sometimes when a shoe is a little more lightweight, they sacrifice some durability. So I've run 100 miles in these, which isn't a ton of miles, but I think you can get a pretty good sense of how a shoe is holding up over time. And for the most part, this shoe has held up great. There is no visible damage. The only thing that I can see that is starting to wear down a little bit is the heel area. There's this exposed midsole foam right here that, I'm a heel striker, so I kind of grind that area down. But honestly, after 100 miles, this isn't that bad. The outsole rubber is holding up great. That is taking a brunt of the pressure that I'm putting on this shoe every time I stride, and it is in fantastic shape. The upper is great. There's no ripping, no seams are coming apart. Like, it looks pretty new. If I hadn't run through mud a couple times, these would look basically brand new. So durability is off the charts on this shoe. We'll see how this holds up after like 200 or 300 miles. I imagine the thing that's going to wear down first is probably the foam. It's going to compress, maybe, potentially. I don't know. Overall, the shoe after 100 miles has held up really, really well. And then the final pro I want to talk about of this shoe, and probably the most important one, is this shoe is awesome at faster paces. So I have taken this out on tempo runs. I did a few speed workouts when I was training for my 10K, some faster runs, and it is great. It's lightweight, but it's also like fairly wide. I like the width of this shoe. That helps me as a heel striker. It helps me as, I don't have the best stride in the world, so the wide shoe kind of helps make up for that a little bit. These are great. They're a shoe that I don't really notice at higher speeds. It's a great shoe if you want to get something that is going to perform well at higher speeds. If you want to do speed workouts, if you want to do your tempo runs, if you want to do strength runs, if you want to do any kind of faster work, but you don't want a carbon fiber plate. You don't want to pay for a carbon fiber plate. You don't want to wear a shoe that is going to have a carbon fiber plate because it doesn't feel totally comfortable, or they're not as durable as like a shoe like this. This is a fantastic option. So that's probably the biggest pro I have with this shoe and what it really is best at. Now moving on to the cons. I mentioned the width of the shoe. The width on the inside of the shoe is a little bit wider. So I have kind of a narrow foot. So there's a little bit of room on the inside of this shoe that my foot is not necessarily sliding around, but it's noticeable. not too bad. I wouldn't size down if I were to buy this shoe again. I would probably just get my true to size. The other thing I didn't love about this shoe is the tongue. It's a pretty basic material. I don't know what exactly this is, but it's just like they just like cut the material. Like there's no edging. It's just they just stamped out the tongue material. It's nothing special. It's not really bulky, and I'm sure this is like a weight saving measure, but it does kind of like mean that when you tie your shoes too tight, like it gets too tight around your ankle. It's hard to describe. I like more of a padded tongue that kind of protects your ankle from the front of the laces if you tie them too tight. Of all the parts of this shoe, I think everything is really well made and high quality and high tech. The tongue is not. It's pretty basic. So if you're really picky about the tongue of your shoe, I don't know, might not be for you. And the final con I had was what I talked about at the beginning of this video of what this shoe is for. So if you remember in the description, they refer to this as an everyday trainer. I disagree. I do not think this is an everyday trainer. To me, an everyday trainer is like the New Balance More V4 or the Nike Pegasus or something that you can take out that has enough cushion to do those long runs, but is light enough where you can do faster runs. It's a very versatile shoe at different types of paces. That's not what this shoe is. This is a faster paced shoe. When I was running my slower paces, like my easy pace, the shoe became noticeably more uncomfortable. It had sort of like a slapping feeling on the ground as opposed to like a smoother stride. But as soon as I pick the pace up, it's fine. And you don't even notice the shoe. You're just cutting through those miles at faster paces. Everyday trainer also means that you can take it on longer runs. I think this would get kind of uncomfortable at slower paces on anything more than like 8 to 10 miles. It just kind of hurt my feet. There's not a ton of cushioning. The Fuel Cell foam is a great lightweight foam. It's not the most cushioned foam in the world. And there was a lot of feedback on like Reddit and a few other places that said the shoe felt flat. I agree. The shoe did feel flat at slower paces. But once I picked it up, once I was running on the track or doing my 10K tempo pace, that flatness and the slapping on the ground was not noticeable. So they say it's an everyday trainer. I actually think this is more of a tempo shoe. Now, if you're a really fast runner, if you're an elite runner, if you're someone who has qualified for Boston and 8 minutes per mile is like the slowest pace you'll ever run, this might actually be a pretty good daily trainer. But for the rest of us who have easy paces of 9 minutes per mile, 10 minutes per mile, 11 minutes per mile, even more, it's not the most comfortable shoe in the world. So I think it's an important distinction. It's a really good shoe as a tempo shoe, as a speed workout shoe if you don't want to wear like track spikes or a carbon fiber plate. But when you start to get into those slower paces, it didn't perform quite as well as I had hoped, or at least as I thought it would perform when I read the description. So overall, what is my verdict of this shoe? This is a really good shoe. I really, really enjoyed running this at faster paces. That is the key distinction, the thing to remember. This is a great shoe. Like I said a million times, for those speed workouts, for those tempo runs, for those faster paces. I wouldn't love running in this shoe at slower paces. It's kind of a specialty shoe. Faster paces. If you're looking for something that is going to be more of a daily trainer, I prefer the New Balance More V4. That's a max cushion shoe. I love it. I've run hundreds of miles in that shoe. That is a great easy pace shoe, whereas this is more of a specialist shoe. If I were to run 300, 400 miles in this shoe, I would definitely consider getting another pair of these, but I'll keep running in them, and I will make more videos in the future letting you know how this shoe holds up after maybe, I don't know, 250 miles, 300 miles, something like that. So subscribe so you don't miss future videos. But that is my 100-mile review of the New Balance Rebel V4. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I'm happy to answer anything. And if you've run in this shoe, let me know what you think. Did you like it? Didn't you like it? Are you an elite runner where you can take this shoe out on an easy run and it feels great? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. But that'll be the video for today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.